Geek Out! Hey, welcome to another Song with Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jay.
This week, well, first off, it is Wednesday, my dudes. And speaking of our dudes, our dude, Kyle Starks, is back on the show. He's here to talk about his Image Comics series, Rock Candy Mountain, which gets its first collection on Wednesday, September 27th. His other Image Comics series, Sexcastle, has recently got a brand spanking new edition. And you can also see his work with Oni Press, with Rick and Morty, and Dead of Winter, the comic book adaptation of the popular tabletop game. And you know what? Kyle talks about it all. And in addition to other things, mostly wrestling. But hey, you're about to get it all straight from the Kyle Starks mouth, and here it is. And joining us back on the show, Kyle Starks. We're here to talk about his hobo magnum opus, Rock Candy Mountain. The first trade comes out on Wednesday, September 27th, in comic book stores everywhere, and Comixology if you're more digitally inclined. You've also got, issues of Rick and Morty for Oni Press that he's doing, as well as Dead of Winter if you're a fan of that hit game. It now has a comic book, and Kyle Starks is front and center. And, of course, be sure to check out the Eisner-nominated Sexcastle.
Oh, yeah.
Which is always been... Yeah. I remember the last time I invoked Sexcastle that you were on the show, you're like, well, it's also Eisner-nominated. And I was like, I will remember this. And I remembered that.
It's like the doctorate of comics.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I win it, I'll be unbearable, because then you'll have to say it before you say my name, not just that one book.
Yeah.
Eisner Award winning.
That's right.
Well, Kyle, thanks again for coming on the show.
I'm glad to be here, guys. I'm always stoked to talk about stuff.
Sweet.
So, if there's one thing that's abundantly clear in Rock Candy Mountain, yes, it's the fact that you can write the jokey jokes. Yes, it's the fact that you can stage the punchy punches. But you know a whole shitload about hobos.
I mean, I know a little bit about hobos.
More than the average
And
bear.
here's the thing. Yeah, that's right. Just knowing a little bit puts me way up on most people.
How
I'm going to say, I've read a lot about hobos. There's not actually a lot of hobo material to read, and I did most of that reading 4 or 5 months ago. So I've only kept the parts that interested me specifically. So I'm because I realized I read somewhere after 34 your brain stops growing. You peaked at your brain has peaked at 34, and I'm 40. So yeah, but I know some stuff, man. I know some stuff about hobos for sure.
Now, just with each new hobo thing you're learning, you're losing a little bit of math or history.
Oh, yeah, it's always been a very limited hard drive space. And I'm like, well, I gotta learn, all of the NBA MVPs from the beginning of time. Well, there goes, walking.
Got to know how many times Cena has got the world championship. 16.
Look, if you don't know statistically how good Fat LeVere is, there's no point.
Right?
Just cash him in.
Yeah. That's just it's the wrestling stuff. It's man, I really want to get into New Japan, but I feel like I'll forget my family names.
it's the New Japan stuff is so daunting, and there's a couple wrestling podcasts that I listen to because there's a million of those, and they're all hung up on the G1 thing right now, the climax. Yeah,
the G1.
Yeah, and I'm just I'm afraid of getting into that just because there's so much that I have to learn.
Yeah.
I want to know who this Kenny Omega kid is, but
oh, yeah, he's amazing. Yeah. Well, a couple of years ago, Reddit was real good about they would put just these are the single matches, they'd be these are the 10 matches you have to watch, and they did it for years. So I was I just watched those 10 matches, which is how I knew about Shinsuke.
Right.
We're going to talk about hobos, guys. We'll get back to that. How I knew about Shinsuke because he came to NXT, and how I loved Shinsuke because New Japan Shinsuke is sort of the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
But now it's they don't do that anymore. I don't have someone feeding me baby bites because I'm old and frail. I just want my little tiny baby bites. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
They don't do it, so I don't know. I try to keep track, but I haven't, and I don't have enough time anymore. I just don't have the time of day to do it. And I wish.
Speaking of Shinsuke, are you excited about SummerSlam?
I'm never excited about anything WWE related. Period.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, good for him, I guess. That'll be a dumb match. So,
I mean, it can't be as dumb as the Punjabi prison match.
I mean, I mean, you should like find like a Wrestle Kingdom Shinsuke Nakamura match,
Yeah,
and then you'll be like, oh, pretty much anything that's not with Sammy or Kevin or AJ is gonna be dumb.
fair enough.
He's really good. It's waste. It's like they don't let him wrestle his style, and it's kind of a waste. So
I do okay.
Speaking of hobos, that's
Well, speaking of hobos, like
Elias Sampson. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
I love Elias Sampson. He's just Elias now, though. He's been officially chopped, much like Rusev.
Bastards.
Yeah.
There is, I feel like issue 2 of this is maybe, to tie it to wrestling as well, is kind of your love letter to wrestling, maybe to Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, as we see the ultimate in hobo cage matches.
Ooh.
Oh, the Underground Fight Club.
Yeah.
I think like when I was thinking about this series, I really wanted to get. Because I've never done anything episodic. I've only done 200-page books to date, not counting Rick and Morty, which is a completely different animal because by its nature it's episodic. To figure out how I want to do it in chapters, I was like, well, I want to squeeze in all the things I want to squeeze in. So I have a prison break in issue 4 because I love prison fiction, not erotic fiction, gentlemen. just like I love a good prison story. Some erotic. It's okay if it's a little erotic.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I mean, I love any time when you're watching something and suddenly there's a fight club. Like now you have to fight for dinner. Cool. I love it. So I put it in there. And you can come up with all the great character. Like, it's like always it's like over the top. Like you get to see the dude like drinking antifreeze and like, I love that stuff, man. And I ultimately try to make books that I feel like touch other people the way that those other things touch me, and not in an erotic way, guys. Well, maybe a little bit, but it's okay.
With the story arc, I mean, with Sexcastle, it was like everybody on Sexcastle. It was like basically every 80s action icon that has ever existed, except for like maybe American Ninja, taking on Shane Sexcastle. What we're seeing in across these first 4 issues of Rock Candy Mountain is we're seeing the authorities, we're seeing other hobos, we're seeing bums, we're seeing tramps, we're seeing prison inmates, we're seeing John Law, we're seeing literal, like, not hobo Satan, literal Satan.
The literal devil, literal devil.
What is it about like one man against the world that you find so appealing to kind of write about?
Man, that's I guess I never really, because I killed them all as like 3 people versus the world, sort of. But I think that's like every person's story, right? I mean, like can you guys hear my dogs barking in the background? That's embarrassing.
It's not the worst animal noises we've had. Not in a sexual way.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a little.
Go through the archives for that one. I think but I think like I think, and maybe it's not accurate, but I think that it's always you against everybody, right? Like that's each of our own stories, and then hopefully we find a partner. We have like, I guess, like, and that I think that's the difference between, for me, Rock Candy Mountain and Sexcastle. Is that Sexcastle was literally like someone trying to find this new life, but to get there they had to overcome their own past and sort of beat the world to get what they wanted. Which is like a shrink at the end of that. Like, you need to just get some therapy. But for Rock Candy Mountain, it's like the same thing, but he's got his guy with him. Like this time he's not alone. It's like you have to have help to do it. But so it's like, yeah, it's like everything's like I guess like one more step forward. But I think I think a story is more interesting when people have really difficult odds, and I think Jackson's up against the FBI and the hobo mafia and the literal devil, and that's good odds to overcome. I think they're really compelling for a reader.
You'd kind of spoken to this. So if Sexcastle is at its core about family, or about a dude trying to defend his family, or families getting affected by violence and that sort of thing, what is the underlying theme within Rock Candy Mountain for like Jackson and the other characters?
I'm going to tell you, you find out in 5. You find out in issue 5. I don't know what so Sexcastle, was a lot about also like parental responsibility, because at that time I just had kids. So there's a real undertone to Sexcastle about how parents affect their children. And that's repeated through the whole book. Like the main villain mentions his parents. Sexcastle's dad is a nemesis in the book. And then Joe and her son is part of the story. So that was real important to me. So this one's it's always family related. I mean, like I have a family and they're the most important thing to me. And it's just like that. It's like it's me against the world, but it's me with my family now against the world. But I feel like it's my job to protect them. So it's just a different viewpoint of it. But issue five, like, so I wanted to do, because it's episodic again, which was new to me. I wanted there to be a compelling through line. Like, well, each issue we find out a little bit more about Jackson, and there's stuff put in place if you really want to effort it, which people aren't, because it's like a fun light read. But like there's a through line that I think if you sat and if you did like a list, a character list of all the things, like, okay, well, these are things that haven't happened in the book that have been mentioned, you'd figure out what's going on. But issue 5 is my big flashback issue. So I'm super stoked about that. And it's gonna really set up the rest of the book, like what's motivating Jackson and what the story is about ultimately. Which it said he wants to get back to his family, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like what a man will do for his family.
Just looking forward.
It's hobos punching each other, guys. All right, it's hobos punching each other. There's like a dude's face gets punched off on the front page of the first issue.
Yes.
I enjoy that.
I always need something more. Like I always need something more to these books than just like, well, I think that's funny, or I think that's a cool fight sequence. Because I think, I mean, like Rick and Morty, which I do every month for Morty Press. I've been doing for a million years, I feel like now. But Rick and Morty is kind of the same. Like Rick and Morty's a property that spoke to me, and I was super stoked when they asked me to do it, because I feel like it's very in line with the sort of things I want to do, which is like, oh, look at this funny thing that's maybe clever, but underneath all that, it's about like these sort of tragically human people dealing with their history and each other, and that's kind of the most compelling part. Like everyone loves it. Like, oh, Morty's got a giant arm, right? But like it's only really compelling because like no, Morty's got like parental issues right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's that's something I've always tried to do, because the things that like Roadhouse, like, right, like Roadhouse is like such a dumb movie, but ultimately it's about this guy's sort of always trying to find himself, and then he finally finds himself in this like the dumbest possible place. We're just watching Goonies. I was just watching Goonies yesterday, which was one of my favorite movies. Like, oh, look, the kids go on an adventure, right? Like, that's fun. But man, like all their little tiny, like Chunk's an outcast, but he finds an even bigger outcast than him. Like all those little things, like the heart of the stories, I think is what really makes them compelling. Because a joke is funny, but it's funnier if you mirror it to something that's real. So I try to do it. I try to do it with all my books. Even look, Dead of Winter has it, which is like, it's like as I was working on Dead of Winter, it's like it's a dog fighting zombies. That's great, and that should be good enough. But like I was like, but where's the heart of this story? And I'm really like the responses to Dead of Winter, which came out today from Morty Press. It's based on a tip-up board game. It's awesome. The response has been really great because people are like, oh man, I love like this dog, his origin story. It's like, well, wait for number 4, because number 4 is wild. Because the whole thing's about building this dog, like why this dog is who I'm gonna say this, like I say this seriously, but like think about how dumb it is. I'm gonna say this book is really about who this dog is. Why does this dog do the things it does? And the answer should be, it's like because he's a dog and they only have instincts. You know what I mean? But like Sparky's, my Rex the Wonder Dog, and I really like. It's funny for a dog to fight zombies, and I write a funny book, but it's also to me like it's important to find that thing that makes it real and to make us be able to sort of relate to it more than just that was funny or that was cool.
What was it that made you want to focus the Dead of Winter series on Sparky? A canine protagonist.
Canine protagonist. Well, I haven't played board games since I was like Chutes and Ladders. Like it's been, I couldn't tell you prior to last year what the last board game I played and enjoyed. I think I played Monopoly in like 1994, and I was like, "Fuck board games forever." So I went to Gen Con last year. Oni brought me out for Rick and Morty. When I first started on Rick and Morty, or soon after, to promote Rick and Morty. But they had the editor, Charlie Chu, the editor of the book, had secondary plans, which was to kind of try to see if he could get me to do this book. And I was not into board games, and I thought these guys are even more nerdy than comic book people or wrestling people, which is a real achievement.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true anymore. I'm saying that's what I went in there thinking. But like board games are so different now. They're sort of these amazing, like they're so smart and clever, And it's like the same thing, like you're doing these Comixcastles. I mean, anyway, so they're like, oh, we're thinking about doing this Dead of Winter book. It's a zombie book. And I was like, okay. Like, I mean, I love, like, R.I.P., but Romero is one of my favorite creators of all time. I love Romero. He does things. It's the same thing. It's the same thing I was saying earlier. Like, he does these things. It's like, oh, monsters. But it's like, yeah, but it's really all sort of about consumerism and capitalism and the military-industrial complex. Like, they're really fascinating in that regards. And that's the type of thing I'm really interested in. So I love Romero. So I'm a huge zombie guy from a million years ago. So I was like, I don't really want to do. I have a zombie idea. Like everyone has a zombie idea. So I was like, I could write it, but I didn't really want to do it. And Charlie Chu was like, I want you to know, one of the playable characters in this game is a dog. And I was like, keep going. I think that's the thing that makes it different. Dead of Winter, if you guys haven't played it, it's one of the best. I think it's a great board. I mean, it's so much fun. I play it. I'm not doing a bit. Like I play it at least once a month, if not twice a month, with my brother-in-law and my niece. I generally play it at conventions, like one convention every 2 months. I really like it. It's a lot of fun. So it all kind of worked out. It's one of my favorite board games. But man, it's a fun game. It's a really fun game. But the moment you get Sparky, like that's when the game becomes something else. Like you get to be a dog, man. Like that's the best game. I want to be a dog.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm not gonna lie though. When you said dog fighting zombies, I pictured zombies in like F-18s, like flying around shooting each other.
Oh yeah. Like read the series, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stick around with us, I guess.
That's
see what
right.
happens.
Yeah.
If it's any consolation, Jake, the dog wears a cape.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
If he's a TV dog. It's like that was like by the end of the night, I'm like, it's Rin Tin Tin versus the zombie apocalypse.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've seen so many zombie things, and like even a bad zombie thing is kind of enjoyable, and that's why it became like such a disgusting like property. You know what I mean? Because it's hard to do badly. We sort of all get like the inherent dangers. Oh, it's like it's an unstoppable wave. And you get to run around, and they're cool because you have to shoot them in the head, which is an awesome way to kill something. True, right? I'm right. So it's like it's a lot of fun. So it's like, man, anyone can do a zombie story, and there's so many. And like I said, I've had a zombie story that they ended up not being this one, but it's like just the idea of like, well, hey Kyle, or hey anyone, like, what if your protagonist wasn't human? What if your protagonist was, a dog? That's a weird way to tell a story. So I thought it was an exciting challenge, and I really, like I said, I'm a big Romero fan. I'm a big dog fan. I love me a dog. So yeah. Anyway, Dead of Winter. We're talking about hobos.
We're talking. This show we talk about it all. We could circle back to Sexcastle, as we've talked a little. Yeah.
I'm really stoked. It's getting a really good response. I was worried because it's a weird sort of crossover thing though. If you've never played the game, it's a dog fighting zombies. Like the math is there for you. I think because the thing is, for me, it's just like when I did Rick and Morty. When I did Rick and Morty, I thought a lot about like Evan Dorkin's Bill and Ted. Have you guys read Evan Dorkin's Bill and Ted by any chance?
No.
It's nothing like it is from the movie, but that's it. Like it's its own thing. And I think that's how you have to kind of go into these. With Rick and Morty, it's like I want to be as true to Rick and Morty, but also I want to tell stories that I want to tell. I don't want to just be like doing sausage at the factory. And Dead of Winter, the same thing. It's like, well, there's a board game. The board game exists, but the board game has a sort of narrative to it, which is what makes it a little bit more interesting. But the narrative is so thin, it more gives you this sort of world to play in. So if you've never played the board game, it doesn't matter. Like it's a dog fighting zombies. It's awesome. I have a super great like white trash character named Ruckus in it. Like that's a good book, man. Sign me up. Yeah. But if you have played the game, I think it becomes really clear like what a love letter to the game is, because there's certain Easter eggs, and the comic is going to unfold in a certain order that lines up with the board game, but still maintains sort of a standard sort of narrative lineage. I don't know if that's words right. I don't know if those words are right, guys. I might have made all those up.
Now, I'm on the website for the board game, and I noticed that there is a Felicia Day expansion.
There's a Felicia Day promo card.
Oh, promo, sorry.
There's also a promo card of the guy who is the TV guy from Mad Men.
Uh-huh.
He loves board games. He has a board game YouTube show, I think. I can't think of his name.
Will we?
And we have a promo card for one of my characters, for Ruckus, that we're going to have at Gen Con, and I might have on sale on my website later, maybe. So it's like I got to make like a character that they put in the game, which is amazing.
Nice.
Nice.
But I was just wondering, for the fans of Felicia Day, is she going to be sneaking into your comic book?
No, she's not. We'd probably have to clear like some sort of like likeness, blah blah blah. But I put like there's so many characters. I want to say there's more than 16. I want to say 16, but there's more than that. Just the first game, and they're kind of all in there. And the thing is, like, there's so many characters. You kind of do like I could kind of do a few of these. So I hope there's a really nice response to it, because there's another series I'd love to do. There's another character I would love to do a book with for Dead of Winter. So hopefully that happens. If not, look, it's just like it's like you try to, if someone's like, hey, do you want to do a thing? Make sure you do the thing you want to do, because there might not be a second chance. And I did Sparky. He's the man. He's the man dog. I don't know if Sparky's even a man, to be honest with you. Like, we don't get into genitalia at any point. Could be a girl. I don't know. Yeah. They say it's a good boy. We say it's a good boy a lot, but
I don't think they lift the cape to check the
I didn't write that sequence.
Yeah. But you were mentioning making licensed titles your own. And you were kind of mentioning about being new to writing episodic fiction. How different do you find it writing Rick and Morty / Dead of Winter compared to writing something like Rock Candy Mountain?
All the episodic stuff is it's easier for Rick and Morty because the show is formatted in a way that everything's sort of one and done. It doesn't, like, the show doesn't do arcs, so your expectation is not like, well, this will be one of 3, whereas Dead of Winter is definitely one of 4, right? I mean, like, with a miniseries that tight, like, everything sort of plays into each other, and that affects pacing a lot. Some of the reviews I saw today were like, well, it's a lot of setup. It's like, yeah, so it was Rock Candy Mountain #1. I'm giving you guys a world. Like, it's my least favorite part of writing, is like, let's set it all up. Like, let's make the table. Like, I just want to eat. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to put plates on the table. I just want to eat. And I feel the same way. So it's like, you have to kind of go through these things. Like, so first book's always set up, and Rick and Morty's really easy. Dead of Winter was, it's my preference is to do these sort of long stories, but in America, I don't think, I hope I have this conversation like 5 years. Like, well, you know what I used to think, but it's like, I don't think in America you can just put out an OGN. You can just be like, well, here's another 80-page OGN, or here's another 200-page OGN, and I'm going to put out 2 a year and not do a monthly. I think people, for whatever reason, you need that monthly, if only to advertise the eventual book. Are you with me there?
Oh, no, yeah, I got you.
But I would rather do, so like this first trade is 100 pages of story. I'd rather have, I'd kind of rather do a 100-page story, because I don't like those sort of chapter breaks. Though for Rock Candy Mountain, I wrote it as if it was in chapters. So, but I had to make that decision, and I don't love that. I kind of did with Sexcastle too, but I have some 2-page chapters.
Yeah, it's very.
And, for Sexcastle, I was thinking about like commercial breaks. You know what I mean? Like, whenever you make like the bad edited version of Sexcastle for TV, it's like, oh, here's where the commercial breaks are.
Would you kind of have it like RoboCop with the fake commercials and newscasts?
No, I should though. I should. I don't know. RoboCop did that, so there's some people do that well and some people do it bad. So
Frank Miller kind of has a hold on that market with the Dark Knight.
And there's like there's a couple horror movies that love doing that, like for the trailers and stuff. Like, you do like the fake commercial, but I don't know if that's not really my jam. I think episodic's really hard. I think it's a really hard way to write. You only have 22 pages. I know when the first issue came out of Rock Candy Mountain, so I have like, I want to say it's either a 16 or a 22 page panel page, because I'm so used to doing fight sequences that are 4 or 5 pages. When you get to a 22 page book, you don't have that luxury anymore. So I had to put all these panels on one book to do the fight I wanted to do, which I could never ask someone in Rick and Morty to do a 22 panel page. That's insane. No one gets paid enough to do that in comics. Just me. I'll just do it to myself as punishment. And in fact, I'm on these last 2 issues. Spoilers. I'm on these last 2 issues of Rock Candy Mountain, and I have like the hobo union, the hobo mafia shows up. It's a bunch of people. So it's like all these people. Just like issue 4 when they're in prison, I didn't think about how many people are in prison. And sort of the one thing I wanted to happen in that book is that I wanted to show how tough Jackson is by having him fight a prison, like the entire prison. Like, well, that's a lot of characters, man. So many bodies. It's the same thing. Like I would never write. I wouldn't at this point in my career write, okay, and now he fights a prison. Do that for the next 4 pages because it's insane.
Yeah.
Having said that,
weird.
Yeah.
What's that?
Having said that, I mean, for a setup issue for issue 1, you've got him fighting the hobo mafia in a diarrhea of punches in that first issue. So there's a good, fight sequence there.
Yeah.
Of course, issue 2 is straight up again beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah. Issue 2 also gives us my new favorite phrase if I ever fall out of a chair, which is monkey fuck.
That's what you say.
Yeah, I'm
That's
hoping
what you say when that happens to you.
I'm hoping my next shift at work, I fall out of the chair and can shout monkey fuck. I might just shout it anyway, but
try to get yourself in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just like pinch your finger in something.
I'm monkey fuck. I'll make sure to say it over the radio too, so it goes all over work. So, yeah,
but I mean, you do. Within the confines of a floppy, you really do still manage to get those fights in there. So so issue 2, yes, but again, my druthers, because when I did Kill Them All is 180 pages. Ricky Thunder, which was my first book, which is the same, it's like 180 pages. It has a 30-page fight sequence in it, and it's the same with Kill Them. Like I really like the freedom of not having page counts. Here's the thing. There's no money in that. I mean, that's kind of the end of it. I wish I could do graphic novels, but I'm happy to do monthlies. And I feel like there's more of an interaction doing that. Sort of every month, it's like me and the consumers or the readers or whatever. We get together again, like once a month. But so hey, spoilers. Issue 6 is literally 22-page fight sequence.
Yes.
Because it's like, what do I want in a book? I want a 22-page fight sequence.
Yeah.
So I did it. I want an Underground Fight Club. I want a Prison Break. I want the end of this book. Like, I put all these things in it. Like, how many books do just a fight sequence? That's one book. I don't know of any. I'm sure someone has.
There's a couple. I mean, there's an issue of Uncanny X-Men from the Claremont days where it's basically Wolverine taking on the entire Hellfire Club, and there's an issue during the Tom King. Mikhail Janin run on Batman where he basically fights the entire island of Santa Prisca.
But none of them say monkey fuck.
I almost guarantee that Frank Miller did it in Daredevil or something.
Probably like against like ninjas, yeah.
Yes, or like him and Elektra, like just fighting. Because like there's no exposition. There's almost no exposition in that book. Like that's what I want. So for single issues, like that's great, and I'm really coming around to it. But to have to do those, like, and now I have to stop the book and start, you know what I mean? Like, you have to find out where you have to stop it in certain places. And that's the one thing I'm not crazy about. I've always said, like, I feel like I'm more like motion pictures than television, and episodics are really sort of like writing for television.
Isn't that kind of cool, though, that you can be like, man, I want to do a 22, like, it's just a straight fight.
Oh my God, my dude! Though I wish I could have done like a 40-page fight. Like the money goes back. Like at some point, you're not making money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish I could do like, all right, well, it's a 40-page fight. Everyone have fun. I would love to do that, and that was, like I said, that's what I went into. I think it's actually 22. But yeah, like that's the one, and even like Rick and Morty, like every issue is 18. 18 pages is not very much. And I think that's for me. I think this is the ultimate, like the hardest thing for me for writing a monthly is it's that limitation.
Right.
I will say one of my favorite panels I think you've ever done is a character gets like punched in the face and the flow of blood spraying out of their nose as they're saying. And I always like when people write the dialogue like he, with like the THs for like the fact that he can't talk because his nose is fucked up.
Yeah,
like the make it stop, that.
Oh yeah, the nubbeard guy.
Yeah, that was one of those ones where like I found with like every time I read your stuff, I'll kind of just stare at the panel for a bit and just start laughing because it amuses me. But I told Sam, like, when we were reviewing the Rock Candy Mountain stuff, like, I know I keep talking about the monkey fuck thing, and I kind of keep wanting to just say monkey fuck, but that was when I read that panel. I read it in my mind as monkey fuck, then I said it out loud, monkey fuck, and then I shouted. Luckily, I was home alone. Monkey fuck. That one panel, bang for the buck right there.
Oh, great, man! Thank you.
Yeah,
I think my
Sometimes I get it right in one panel. Sometimes.
That's right. Yeah.
One of my personal favorites is in Sexcastle. After Sexcastle kicks one of the French twins like in the nuts or something, he just, "Are you okay?" Yeah. He's just like, "Are you okay?" Just kidding. Fuck you. Like in the same word balloon.
I think that was when we were working at our first image thing.
Yeah.
You showed that to me, and I just bought it right there.
Yeah.
So.
I tried to get my dudes to talk like people, like real people.
That's so good.
And I think even in the middle of a fight, like if that's like, sometimes you just talk like a real dude. Sometimes it's just, fuck you.
Yeah. Also, how fun is it to write Satan?
To write the literal devil.
Literal devil. Yeah, not hobo devil. Literal devil.
Yeah, no, he's the literal. I mean, I like him. I like him a lot. I don't. The devil, because the devil is like, whenever a character has like a very clear, I think, motivation, it takes away from them a little bit. Then you're kind of just doing shtick, which isn't true for the devil. It's like I'm avoiding him doing shtick.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, like, the devil's dialogue in issue 3 when he's chasing them through the a lot of his dialogue appeared in issue 3. Like, I think that's the character. Like, that's the character there.
Yeah.
Whereas before he's like kind of a MacGuffin-y side of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like issue 3, like I like issue 3 so much because I feel like I set up that character in so many ways. That book's sold out, but there's a bit where he's in the cornfield and he like looks over and sees the corn and he's like what the fuck is this? And like I feel like the devil's got bigger things to worry about than like what people eat or don't eat.
Yeah.
So but also he has to do this sort of task which I think is menial to him. But also like it's like his job, but he likes it enough like it's not like a waste of his time. But really, like, the devil probably has better things to do than to go around chasing people.
He's got the magic jump.
I think he does.
The magic jump. Yeah, I like that he shouts what he's gonna do, and he's just like magic jump.
Yeah, because like, he's nothing. It's this is gonna be like this is what we call a callback, fellas. Like when Shinsuke first came around, they're like, look how goofy he acts, and I'm like, no, man, that's not what. Like he's not clowning. Shinsuke's just not scared of you.
Yeah. Like
he's not scared of anyone, so he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
That's what makes Shinsuke so awesome. Not that, gosh, look how weird he is. It's like, no, he just doesn't. He's not scared of you. And I think the devil's the same thing. Is like he's not scared of anyone. Though in that particular issue, there's a plot point which is important for the moment and for Jackson's character. So things turn slightly, but even at the end of that book, he's not scared. He's just like inconvenienced for a moment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was.
And I think that's like there. Like so I just did an interview earlier today, and they're like, hey, why'd you put the devil in there? I'm like, I don't know. Name a better bad guy.
Yes.
I don't know how many image books I'm going to get. I'm putting the good bad guy in there.
Yeah. No, that's funny.
Primo
devil, primo Satan work.
Love it.
So
I really thought I'd get like, I'm going to jinx myself, but I'm really glad I haven't got people going like, well, the devil doesn't act like that. Emails or like that's not the right train.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's not actually what the Z148 looks like. I'm like, I don't know, man. I just kind of Google image some of this stuff. I have a bunch of books. I can't find some actual working 40s era steam trains to reference.
Oh man.
Sorry if my calipers aren't right.
I want to meet the person is the kind of person that writes the email that's like, that's not the devil. That's not how the devil would talk.
Yeah, I know. They'll have references in it. Whatever it is, they'll have references in it.
You've seen the Passion of the Christ?
Man, no.
There's no magic jump.
Yeah. But I haven't. I'm real lucky. But also, I feel like it also says like maybe my readership isn't as good as I'd like because I've had enough people being really like garbage towards me.
You've got the right readership.
That's right. Yeah.
That's for sure. No, that's the truth. It's funny because like I have a Patreon, the Kyle Starks. I don't know what it is. Kyle Stark's Patreon. You'll find it. And I do these Google Hangouts every now and then, and it's not a lot of people. Like you kind of want to be like you want to be on Twitch and have like 45,000 people, whatever, want to like hang out with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, I have like on a good day 6. But man, they're the 6 coolest people, and it's just like my Twitter, like the people who follow me on Twitter. It's like all those people are cool. Like I don't have to mute anyone or get rid of anyone. Everyone's cool, and I'm really lucky in that regards. And everyone supports me. Like my entire career from day one to today has been a series of lucky breaks. And by all accounts, the people who support my work and me are definitely a part of that. Because who knows, like what kind of fans you could have had. Real racist ones, and I don't have any of that. So I'm super thankful to not have any racists.
Take that, racists.
Yeah.
Get out of here, racists.
Yeah, Jackson will take on racists next.
Yeah.
I did with 100 Cat. 100 Cat killed the Clanimal.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he punches him right in the chest.
Yeah, the punch in the chest is so fucking great.
Yeah, here's the thing. How do you bleed? He punched him so hard he began to bleed to death from his chest.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, that was so good.
And regrets all his decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like now he got punched so hard he wished he wasn't racist anymore.
Yeah.
I love it. I wrote that.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
So if Sexcastle comes from a place of like love letters to like 80s action movies, Roadhouse, all that stuff, and Kill Them All comes from a place of like very John Woo, like Gun Kato, where does the inspiration for something like Rock Candy Mountain come from? What makes you wake up and say hobos, fights, Satan?
I was actually after Kill Them All. I really wanted to get into like martial arts films because I feel like it's a real blind spot for me, and it clearly feels like something I would really like. Mm-hmm. I like people kicking. Done, right? Like there's so many kicks.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm really gonna, and I feel the same way about martial arts films, like that was mentioned by New Japan earlier. There's so much of it. There's so much, and you don't know where to start or anything. So I was kind of going through like, these are the 20 best martial arts movies of all time, right? The 36 Chambers of Shaolin and I can't even think of their names because it's been so long. But I was watching all these movies and enjoying them because they're kicky greatness. I just watched one called I think it's called Dumb Ho. Is that what it's called?
I don't know if you would have Googled Dumb Ho.
Put Dumb Ho martial arts.
Oh yeah, see that's key. Yeah.
What was the name of Dumb Ho is probably not right. It's something. Is on Oh, that's going to bother me so much. It's on Amazon right now, actually.
Oh really?
Let me find it. It's not Dumb Ho. It's got to be Dumb Ho. Something like that. It's so bad. It's not going to be that. But I'm like, well, that's how I remember it. Marshall. Oh my god, I'm never gonna find it. And someone who knows is gonna be like, "You dumb shit." And I watch it. It's great. It's one of the most clever, like sort of. It's like the dumbest. So hold that point. Hold that thought like right there. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm watching all these martial arts films, and there's a genre of martial arts films called like wuxia films, which I mispronounced a long time. I was corrected a lot because I'm just stupid. And the wuxia films are kind of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like there's just a little bit of fantasy to them, just the littlest bit, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm watching these movies, and I saw a couple of them, and I can't remember their names of them because I'm dumb. And like I said, I can't remember anything anymore. But I was like, there's like what is the American equivalent of that type of movie? And all the ones I watched were always these sort of journeys. Someone has to get from point A from point B to deliver a sword or to find something or deliver a message or to find the bad guys, keep to fight him. And so it's these sort of these big scale cross country, slightly magical fight 'em ups. And it's like, what's the American equivalent of? There isn't one. So it's like, well, I want to do that. So it's like, I'm thinking, well, what's like the most American sort of cross country thing? It's like road trip. Like, I want fights. Hobos. Like that was it. Like it was done. And I had at that point in time, and I can't remember why I was actually reading about hobos at the same time. So it felt like just like when I was doing Sexcastle, a lot of puzzle pieces, like all of these things just fell into place. It's like, well, that's what it is, which as a creative is thrilling. When all these things happen, you're like, oh, this is it. And it sort of all came like, I want to put all this in here. How can I make it work? Why is this character like they are? hobo fights across America, man. Post World War II. Post World War II is like the most American time. Like we're just becoming like a great country. We're not a bunch of assholes yet, which is pretty cool. Steam trains. I don't recommend drawing a lot of steam trains for your comic if you can avoid it. They're not a lot of fun. They have a lot of parts to them. But it was like it is what it is. So yeah, I was trying to watch martial arts movies, and I was like, I want to do that, but American, and that's Rock Candy Mountain.
Perfect.
That's our American martial arts epic.
Yeah. That's awesome.
What if you did, just spitballing here, what if you did a just like any which way you can or every which way but loose, but in the Wild West?
That's one of those things, because I wanted to like, I knew it was going to be for Image, so I wanted to do something that was an archetype that people could connect to. That wasn't like, because it's like I could have just done. I mean, I wouldn't, because I feel like it's a weird cultural appropriation thing. But like, I could have just done like a ninja book, right? Like same thing, like ninjas on a mission to do something, which again we'll find out in 5, which I think I'll be really stoked about. But I want to do something really amazing. It's like cowboys. I don't want to do cowboys. I don't want to draw horses. Nobody does. Also, it's like, man, what like there's some westerns I really love, but that genre is not one that like I just get super stoked about. I would like to do a western at some point, but I think it's just like anything else I did. It would not be very western. It'd be something else that's sort of flavored by it.
And I guess there's western elements in Rock Candy Mountain as well. The drifter, the man. I mean, I guess I can't call him a man with no name. His name's Jackson.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sam. I think like in this thing, like I'm I love cinema, and I love action cinema, which is like lowbrow. I mean, in many ways is lowbrow, but westerns fall right in. Like if you're not throwing the good, the bad, the ugly in, there's like so many awesome tough guy cowboy things. Like if you're not throwing those in, then like you're not getting the whole breath. Because Sexcastle, I mean, Sexcastle has a lot of very western elements to it. And I think anything with like one really good like showdown, like Sexcastle has with his father, the old man who's Clint Eastwood. Like you're gonna have that, Yeah. And if you're not, you're doing it wrong. I think you're doing it wrong, because that stuff's so great.
Was the idea behind creating Pomona to give kind of a window into the world and a window into Jackson?
Yeah. Well, I think because there's a way to do historical fiction which is more interested in the historical part of it than the fiction, and I think that's a really common. Whenever I make something, I always think, well, what do I not like about that? Because I want to try to fix it for at least my purposes of consumption. I don't like period pieces, guys. I hate them. I hate period pieces. It's so ironic to me that my first sort of major book is a period piece, because I despise them. But the reason why I despise them is always a lot of like, oh, and here they are picking their clothes up from the man who does the clothes. Like, I don't give a shit about any of that. It's so boring. And I think like with hobos, like they're so misrepresented in sort of the public mindset and pop culture that there's a lot to sort of lay out. But I don't want to be like, well, let me tell you guys about hobos. I want to tell stories that have hobos in it, and I want those answers to be made available in a way that would be if you were suddenly in the same position. So that Pomona is that reader sort of fill-in character, but he's also has like his own story to a lesser extent that sort of goes along with Jackson's. And that's where I'm at now, is like, since I'm on 7 and 8, I'm really trying to sort of nail the landing on Pomona. But I think like the thing is like, like so Jackson has this goal that's so important for him to achieve. Like he's so single-minded about it, but Pomona is like on the other side of that, and he failed. So they're like these two different journeys, but at the same time, like they both have to go someplace. But Jackson's going towards victory, and Pomona's post that moment, and he failed, and so he's going in the other direction. And I think that's really fascinating, because like these guys are both on journeys, but they're opposite journeys, but at the same time, like these two people are sort of trying to find themselves.
Interesting. So, but what we see over the course of this first arc is them kind of the odd couple, without going into too much detail.
Yeah.
is starting to drift apart. So what does that mean moving forward for the series?
Yeah, you gotta wait. That's volume 2, my dude. That's volume 2. That's like
Nice try, Sam.
What's that?
I just said nice try, Sam.
Yeah, you almost got me. But this is like in the solicits, like, well, this is the end of the first arc. It's like it's not. There's one arc, guys. But like that's how you have to talk. Like this is just the first 4 issues. This guy's on a mission. It's the most important thing. He's not even talking about it. It's like not even anyone's business. He's so focused. He's not even talking about it, which causes Pomona, because Pomona feels like people should talk things out, right? Mm-hmm. I can't believe I haven't found the name of this movie yet, guys. Really upsetting because it's not called The Dumb Hoe, but it might as well be. Is that? Can you believe in that moment when was it something hoe? No, it's not right. All right. Oh, I just found it. Hold on.
Oh my
Dirty Hoe. Boy, I was way off, guys.
Samsonite.
Yeah. Slippy, slappy.
It's called Dirty Hoe, and
Dirty
it's
Hoe.
sort of amazing. It's sort of the same. Like you watch it, it's like I'm going to go back to what I was saying if I remember what it was, which I've already forgotten. But it's like you watch this movie Dirty Hoe, which is a comedy, but it has like some of the most inventive fight sequences. And I love fight sequences. I love choreography. I take it so serious in my book, so I'm always like interested in seeing like a cool fight thing, right? But Dirty Hoe does these like really clever fight scenes, but it feels like, and I watched the subtitle version, which means it was garbage. Like it's nowhere close. It felt like your most basic American comedy, like just nothing. Like, oh, here's the new Kevin Hart movie, right? But with the most amazing kung fu sequences. So, Dirty Hoe, guys, it's on Amazon Prime. It's worth checking out.
Sweet.
At one point, because the main guy doesn't want the other guy to know he's a kung fu master, so he tells him that the lady he hired just to play the guitar, which isn't a guitar, it's some crazy 7th century like musical instrument. He's like, oh, she's my bodyguard, and she's like, what? So he's fighting with her body, but secretly, it's sort of amazing. Dirty Hoe. I don't think I disparage that movie, but it's well worth watching. What was I saying about Pomona? Pomona's cool. He's got problems.
Yeah, he didn't make it in Hollywood. Tinseltown Dreams didn't pay off.
So like but yeah, it's like they both have things in common. They both have to go someplace, and they're both alone. And I think one of the things I wanted to sort of touch on with Rock Candy Mountain was a real friendship. And I feel like for the next book I'll be better. That's the thing. Like each book, like Sexcastle, like I did the story. It's kind of one guy's story, and now it's like I want to do kind of 2 guys' story. Kill Them All is 3 people's stories, which I feel like I did a little bit better. It comes out September 27th from Oni Press. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. If you like Sexcastle, which is Eisner-nominated, so you should. But yeah, Pomona's like your fill-in, man. I think that was the original question. I got real distracted. I'm sorry. Dirty Hoe is really good, and I just felt like I was really not giving that movie a fair shake. Calling it the wrong name.
Well, I was saying right before we hit the record button, we're hitting the Stark Singularity in September. We've got Volume 2 or Volume 1. I'm getting ahead of myself. Volume 1 of Rock Candy Mountain, Kill Them All, probably a Rick and Morty comic, and probably a Dead of Winter comic. All
definitely Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Dead of Winter number 3.
Yes.
I think Rick and Morty will be 31. I don't even know where we're on that. Like I can't. Each month it comes out, and I'm stoked again.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, that'll be the most. It'll be the most books I've had at one time. And right this month I have 3, so I topped even that. I topped 3. I'll have 4 books out in 1 month.
How does it on some level? It's got to be a whirlwind experience for you because it was last year that Sexcastle was at the Eisners and everything. How over the past 365 days, how do you kind of feel about your career in comics now?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, I was working full time, and I was kind of goofing. Like I did Sexcastle. I did my first book. I did a book called Legend of Ricky Thunder. It's available in my store, I think. I don't know. Who cares? And I did it for the sole purpose of just doing it. But wrestling's a very niche area, and there wasn't very many wrestling comics at the time, so it got attention whether I liked it or not. which I did. I liked it a lot, guys. I love that attention. And it just turned into a thing. And then it's like I did wrestling comics. So I love wrestling. So then I did my 80s action movie because I love 80s action movies. And then that book, my first real book, was nominated for an Eisner, which is insane. And now, I do this full time, which is unbelievable and bizarre because I get to see my kids, which I didn't get to before because I work nights. I get to see my wife all the time, which is great. And also I get to tell stories for a living, which is like, man, what a blessed, crazy existence. And, we're doing it. We're barely doing it, but it counts. And I think every year that I do it, I'm trying to put out good stuff. And I think the people who read my stuff like it. But it's not, I don't want to say Batman. It's like, but not everyone reads it because it's like, look, it's a weird hobo book. Why would you pick it up? But I was like, man, I want people to pick it up. The stores, hey stores, please push my stuff, sell my stuff. It's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff.
It's Eisner-nominated stuff, and this,
yeah. Next year, 4 Eisners. That's what I'm going for. I'll be the first person to win 4 Eisners
in 1 year.
In 1 year, and people are gonna be like, "Who's this Starks guy? Why is he? What's up with his beard? It's so good."
That must be why he won.
It must be. He's immense talent and this perfect salt and pepper beard.
Yeah,
that's what they'll say.
Would you ever write if like say Boom offered the opportunity? Would you ever take a crack at the WWE comic?
So they may or may not have asked.
Ooh.
I mean, I would. They have the Bill and Ted product, like the Bill and Ted franchise. Like Boom has things I'm interested in. WWE, I mean, yeah, I would, but not now. Like I just don't have any interest in it right now. The WWE product's so bad. I wanted to just fix that. I want to bypass the comics universe and go straight to Connecticut.
Just be like, Vince, here's what's wrong.
Guys, I'm gonna fix all of this for you. Every single person, and we're gonna make Heath Slater champion. That's number 1.
Yeah, he's got kids.
He's got kids, man. People can get behind that. Everyone in that audience has kids, or they are a kid.
Yeah. Everyone in that audience has at one point been a kid.
I think so I noticed kind of the second when they sent Sammy and KO to SmackDown, like even SmackDown wasn't good anymore because it's been like this weird, like NXT was really good when Dusty was alive, right? And then they took Dusty off of it and it was still okay. It was like once Bray left, it wasn't as good. People can argue with me. You can argue with Kyle Starks all fucking day. The wrestling was better. The stories were for shit. If you were legit stoked about Neville versus Finn Balor, you need to reconsider so many things because the story was here's 2 guys. Like that's for shit. Like you gotta give me a narrative. So it was still okay, and the reason why that was because they had a writer named Ryan Ward, right? And they sent Ryan Ward to SmackDown. I'm sure Triple H was like, put him on SmackDown. So SmackDown has been so good since the first brand switch, right?
Yeah.
Like SmackDown's been really enjoyable. AJ's had this great arc. All the characters have stories, and then their stories bleed into other stories. And it's not like the best, but compared to like the last 10 years of wrestling, it was sort of like this nice relief. And then for SmackDown's been really bad lately, and I tweeted something about it. And it's like someone's like, yeah, Ryan Ward's not on anymore. He's on Raw now. Yeah. And Road Dogg Jesse James, who is famous for wiggling his legs, is now the head writer for SmackDown.
I've heard that too.
I'm sure he's great. But you took your best writer and put him under Vince McMahon where no writer can write anything.
Yeah.
That's the dumbest fucking thing. And like that's what's wrong with WWE, is that they don't – it's just – I used to – like it's so completely unaware of what people want from wrestling or what makes it good. And then they wonder why people don't watch the pay-per-views or don't join their network in which you can't even watch Raw or SmackDown on their network. Like they're 8 weeks old. Like you can't even watch the shows. It doesn't say like they just don't get what people want. And I know what I want isn't what everybody wants. I really like a narrative. I really like early 80s when like the Junkyard Dog had a story with somebody and he's a clear mid-card. He's not even going for a belt mid-carder, you know? Mm-hmm. And the same with the Attitude Era is like, I know the Attitude Era people is kind of like early 90s comics where it's like, oh, there's a lot of people getting their heads blown off. Like that's what wrestling is right now. It's like, yeah, but also like literally everyone has a story. And it worked until the guy who was doing those stories ran out of stories, right? Or his head got too big to think like he thought everything he did was great, whichever the case is. It's like, man, there's no there's no narrative, and frankly, there hasn't really been one in like 10 years. And like, of course, people are going to lose their interest because like you bring in the best wrestlers. I love how like I do a comic book podcast, but it's like here I go. Let's let me bitch about wrestling. You have right now you have Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, Finn. Fine, I don't love Finn. I think he's really bland, but he is what he is. Seth. Right now you have at least 2 guys who in the last like 6 years have been listed as the best wrestler in the world, and you have him wrestling WWE house style. You have 205 Live, which you made as a show because the CWC was so exciting, which was people doing indie style wrestling, and you don't let those guys wrestle that way, and then wonder why no one watches. Like, you either have to choose, like, well, we're not going to focus on story, we're going to do really good fight sequences. Like, it's comics. We're going to do really good fight sequences, no story. Or you have to give a really good story, but optimally, what you do is kind of both, because right now you have those wrestlers. What if, let me just throw, you guys are wrestling fans, right? Like, I'm not just, like, taking this over.
No, yeah, we dig this.
Let's go back to WrestleMania. You remember WrestleMania, right? Because it was so fucking good. Okay. I don't remember anything about it, but this was like, what if right before the Neville Austin Aries match, Austin, who doesn't give a shit, said, "Hey, let's do a PWG match." And they went out there and they had a legit like 10-minute PWG match. How much do you think everyone at that stadium would have just lost their shit?
Oh, would have been so good.
It would have felt like a change. I don't understand why they don't do that. I remember with WCW. When WCW was WCW, and Rey Mysterio was a curtain jerker on WCW Nitro, if I wanted to be, when people are like, oh, you like wrestling? I'd be like, watch this, and I'd show them one Rey Mysterio match. And that was enough. And like, you can have that. Like, you can have people just putting on crazy ass. It's not my favorite, but it is what it is. Like, if you just want to have Sammy and KO, or Sammy and AJ put on 5-star match or 4.5-star, whatever you can do at WWE, like, that's okay. That's fine. I wasn't a Benoit fan before he killed everybody, but I'm saying, like, I didn't want to see Benoit versus Lance Storm, but I know there's a ton of people who would have got stoked about that because it would have been a great technical. I love the Spurs. Those guys play a really boring technical defensive form of basketball, but I watch it and I see magic, and I think a good technical match is the same. But they're not even doing that. You have these great wrestlers, they're not even doing it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make any sense. What product do they think they're selling? I'll tell you, it's McDonald's. They're just selling you cheeseburgers. It just has to be okay because people are going to buy that cheeseburger no matter what.
That's fair. That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
it's a weird like stockholders wag like it's the tail wagging the dog now. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, here's what you guys should do. Something good.
Whoa.
Has Bray White, like literally has Bray like I think when Bray White was in NXT was like one of the best. Like, man, they made Cape Fear a character. It was like one of the best villains of all time. He's perfect for this.
Yeah.
He has literally done nothing. Finn Balor has done literally nothing. Like, they have these. Sami Zayn has done. Sami Zayn just lost to fucking Aiden Inc.
Right? That was ridiculous.
He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. When he had on a mask, I never saw a bad match out of the guy. He was so good. I don't want to name it. There's a wrestler who's not very good, and I'd be like, they're not very good, but they were having a resurgence. Like, have you not seen that match with Generico? I'm like, yeah, show me the bad Generico match. Like, that's not the other guy. Generico's that good. Like, AJ right now in WWE is that good. Yeah. But they just lost Ryan Ward, who was putting an AJ in all these great positions, even when they weren't great positions, which is why right now he can wrestle for a meaningless title against, the second best wrestler in the promotion. WWE, it makes me so mad, and I watch it every week. And this past weekend, I have a Chikara-topia. I'm a big Chikara fan. I used to watch it at work because I'd be at work at 8 hours. I put on a 3-hour show once every 2 weeks. It was great. But I haven't had time because I'm so busy. So I put on the season finale for last year, and I haven't watched it in 2 years. And it was so well told, like, because I know most of these characters. I know the majority of it. It's like, man, I'm so drawn in. I'm cheering. I'm clapping. I haven't done that for a WWE show since Shinsuke showed up because I love Shinsuke so much. But now it's like I can't even really get excited about his intro because it's clear that WWE thinks we like his intro.
Yeah.
I hate it. It makes me so mad. And let me tell you about all the comic books I don't like. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, speaking of...
I don't read comics. I'm just kidding.
Of course. Well, Kyle, I don't know if you remember this, but something we ask everybody that comes on the show...
Uh-oh.
We've had that reaction, too.
Yeah.
What are you currently geeking out over?
What am I currently geeking out over?
Clearly not wrestling. Or at least the
wrestling.
The
it's real
WE.
frustrating. Though I did just watch that. I did just watch that Chikara show, and it's sort of like... That's good wrestling. Like Lucha Underground. If you like Lucha Underground, there's Chikara. I know PWG, like PWG, I feel like doesn't understand digital media. Like I should be able to get a digital wrestling show for cheap, and you can't.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man, let me buy your stuff. And there's another
Take
company
my money.
I just saw someone saying like they all like Evolve maybe, that like they do really good tight narratives. It's like, well, that's what I'm interested in. Because I like comic books. I like people to have fight, but I like for them to have a reason for having to do it. What am I really psyched about right now? What did I say last time? Nothing? I'm kind of an exciting, like I kind of have no enthusiasm about any board games probably last time.
Well, you
I
had
was really into board games.
You had just done like Gen Con, and you had mentioned that you had sat down and played with Jim Zub and gotten that rare follow back and stuff.
Yeah, with Brian Hurt, who's doing the covers for Dead of Winter. I played my first board game, which was Dead of Winter 2. Like, what? And what am I getting really excited about? You know, I'm honestly, like, this is, like, sort of a cheeseball answer, but I'm drawing I sort of have to, like, there's sort of this, like, juggling thing you have to do when you're writing a couple books. Like, I mean, obviously I finished Dead of Winter a while ago, but for me, it's better for me to write those 4 issues in a row than to kind of write one and then write Rick and Morty and then do a Rock Candy Mountain. So I've sort of scheduled it out. I just finished drawing issue 6. I'm halfway through issue 7, and I'm really reminded about how much I really like drawing comic books. So I'm really into the work right now. My kids are about to go back to school. Don't tell them I said this. I'm really stoked about them going back to school. That'll be nice for me. I love them so much. I just beat their asses in laser tag. Nice. No mercy. No mercy. I'm playing a game called Heroes of the Storm that I like a lot. I think I was playing that last year too. But I've played it for so long now. The joy is gone. Now it's just something I get mad at. I've gotten too good at it. I've gotten good enough at it that I have expectations. You know.
I think I saw somewhere that you also own your kids at Mario Kart.
Listen to this. I'll tell you. Look, Mario Kart and yeah, I'm gonna tell you, laser tag. Laser tag I was at a disadvantage because I was the biggest, fattest guy in the room. Mm-hmm. Like it was all like I'd say 15 and under kids and me. So I was a pretty easy target. But Shaboy came in a 7th out of 14.
Oh, not bad.
Nice.
No, that's pretty good for a big fat guy. And like there's definitely 8 like 13-year-old boys who'd been there before.
Yeah.
And my youngest who like is so small, like she's 7. Like I accidentally put her like vest on backwards, so she had unfair advantage. But I Denzel Washington her through that whole thing. She came in like 10th, whereas the other two like they came in dead last, right? So I feel like 7th for being as fat and old as I am is a real achievement. But after that, we played air hockey, and I lined them up and I knocked them down. And then we played Mario Kart. It's like don't. You know what? If you're gonna take a shot at the king, you better not miss. And they weren't even close. Mm. They weren't even close. I will put someone down in Mario Kart. It's one of the few things like I'm good at because I played it for like 5 years straight, stoned in college, just super super stoned, listening to Beatles LPs and playing Mario Kart.
Nice. It's the life.
So yeah, there's like those poor kids. You know, like we got a Mario Kart 8. I was so excited, and I was like trying to show them how to do like the slide. They're like, come on, kid, what's wrong? You you can't tie your shoes. That's fine, but you got to learn this Mario Kart slide.
It's life changing.
Yeah, I kept my N64 for the wrestling games, and I had Mario Kart, but the guy who like is my roommate, he took it away from me after I because he's like, I could still beat you in Mario Kart. I'm like, no, you can't. Like, you lost that power years ago, my friend.
Who's your Mario Kart character of choice?
It's Toad. I'm a Toad man.
He's the
I like
best.
Toad.
Yeah,
I like Toad. But here's why. In the Mario Kart 64, Yoshi was the best. He was the most balanced, like speed and control. Mm-hmm. And then like Mario, I think Yoshi was a little bit faster. Like you don't want to be Mario. That's tropey. Like so, it's like Toad is all speed. So I'm a Toad guy. I never want to be the main guy. I don't want to be Batman. You know, I want to be Martian Manhunter. You hear me, DC?
Yeah.
Martian Manhunter title right now. I'll make it sing.
Play it like a harp.
It'll be straight fire. Oh,
straight fire. Will be. Or not for him. Oh boy, yeah. John. John, no.
Well, Kyle, is there? First off, when it hasn't been solicited yet, when can we expect a 5th issue of Rock Candy Mountain?
Well, it's not going to be till November, unfortunately. They like to do. I would have liked to just gone through. Man, this is kind of me like admitting I goofed up. I missed a solicit email, so it was supposed to be October. It's going to be November. They like, which I think is good because I'm really sincerely hoping word of mouth on the Volume 1 trade is going to happen for those 2 months. Because I think a lot of dudes were waiting, and I think it's a good book. I'm really proud of it. Sexcastle has been. I read Sexcastle the other day because they reprinted it, so I had to sort of re-edit it. There's a lot of like grammatical stuff that I fixed, and I'm sure a lot of people are still, because I'm dumb. I'm bad at that stuff. So I had to reread. That's right, Sexcastle again. And I was like, I still really like that book. And if I read any of my other stuff, I'm sort of like, you could have done that better, Chief. Or man, Kyle, you drew really bad 5 years ago. So I really enjoy Sexcastle, and I feel like when I'm done with Rock Candy Mountain, and I'm almost done with it, frankly, is that I think people are gonna be like, man, that's good too. So I'm hoping that first volume really gets people in for issue 5. So that'll be November. Kill Them All is September. Everything else is September. And then hopefully something new. Rick and Morty every single month for forever. I get to do it until I'm done, which is pretty cool. That's a pretty cool thing for someone to say to you.
Yeah. They gave you the.
And I love it. I love Rick and Morty a lot, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it until for a long. I'm up to issue 35 right now for sure. I'm going to do through 40. I'd like to do it until it's just done, because I like it a lot. I really like Rick and Morty.
Nice. Well, I mean, I'm sure you've enjoyed its return.
Yeah, because I need more material, guys. I need more material, man. So I'm pretty stoked. I mean, that's like, you guys, Rick and Morty, like, that's a good, if you like the Rick and Morty comic, like, no one's lasted this long with it. I've ruined this with Wrestle Talk. There's a lot of people who are Rick and Morty fans that don't know there's a comic, and if you like the show, you'll like I assure you, you'll like I say that as a fan of the show, not just because I'm writing it, but I'm writing additional content. So, yeah, comic book stuff, man. It's weird. Here we are. Here I am.
So again, keep an eye out, because on Wednesday, September 27th, you get the Kyle Starks Singularity with Rock Candy Mountain, Volume 1. Kill Them All, getting a all-color edition through Oni Press.
It's bigger, too, 6x9.
6x9. So those fights get an even bigger format. You've got Rick and Morty number 31.
Maybe 32, who knows? 30? I don't know.
Something around there.
It's an issue.
and Dead of Winter number 3.
September. But you should be buying Dead of Winter. You should buy all those now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Go to your store and get all the Rock Candy Mountains. They're sold out, but they might have them. Pre-order the Volume 1 if they're sold out, which they are. I think it's going to be good. It's going to get me 4 Eisner nominations next year. For sure.
Looking forward to it.
So bad.
Well, and there you have it. So, Kyle, thanks again for coming on the show.
It's always a treat, guys. I'm glad I got to be back on.
Still Wednesday.
Is it?
Yeah. Still my dudes.
Whoa.
It's always a lot of fun when Kyle comes on. It's it's just a barrel of...
It's nonstop.
Monkeys, laughs. Yeah. I mean, it's... He's just a good hang.
Yeah.
Be it action movies, be it wrestling. Yeah.
It was nice to get to talk to someone that's a little bit more knowledgeable on contemporary wrestling, especially stuff outside of the WWE, as I don't venture too much outside of it, just because it's tougher to get. WWE is on USA, whereas like other stuff you have to find their portals to...
That's right. You guys were talking like New Japan and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like you can kind of get New Japan depending on like what your like cable package is. But like when I was trying to check it out, it was like all stuff from like last year. Like they're on like a whole year delay with the matches. So it was weird watching like AJ Styles wrestling in New Japan and at WWE at the same time. But yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Because they give it their all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They are the kings of strong style over there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think who the biggest strong style guy here is. AJ Styles?
No, it'd probably be Nakamura.
Well, that makes sense now. Yeah.
Although, like Starks was saying, they kind of like hold him back, mostly because like the other guys, they're not strong style over here. So that you're really kind of actually hitting people when you're doing strong style, and can't do that unless you're used to being hit.
Yeah. They aren't paid that well. But yeah, so you guys getting anything lately?
Well,
Well,
let me see here. Yeah, I started up Game of Thrones again, and everyone's always kind of shocked that it took this long. But I bought the first season, I think for $25 on like DVD a couple years ago because season 3 was about to premiere and season 2 had just come out, so it was like a little bit cheaper. And I watched it, and I knew a lot of the spoilers going into it. I knew about Ned and stuff like that, and I still was just kind of bummed by the end of it. And for some reason, I just didn't like have this urge to jump right into season 2, which was available on DVD at the time. And I remember actually one of my friends really wanted to check it out, and I ended up just giving her the DVD. And I was like, fun, whatever. And kind of just kept going and watched other things and read other things, and there's a buddy of mine at work who recently binged the entire thing in like 3 weeks to like be up to date, and he started from the beginning, and he was talking a lot about it and mentioned some stuff about some characters. I was like, you know what, like, I restarted my Hulu account a little while ago, and
it's all on Hulu.
well, I mean, you have to have the settle down, because you have to have HBO access through it. You can't just have Hulu.
And what's the point?
Well, I'm saying like
to have it all in like one portal.
Yeah, so I restarted it through. I restarted my Hulu account, and like I'm going through, and I deactivated any HBO stuff a long time ago, and up on Hulu popped up, add the HBO package, and I was like, sure, boom. It gives me 1 free month, because I think if I did it the other way, the 1 free month's already been used. So I was like, I'll get another free month and watch Game of Thrones. And so I just didn't rewatch the first season. I was like, I'll stumble along and figure it out. And I feel like I have. And it's interesting. I mean, there's so many stories going on, and all the characters' names sound similar, and all different houses. And like right when you think you have like an idea of like the different houses, like 4 other houses are brought in with their banners and all that kind of stuff. And I'm terrible at names in the first place.
That does eventually stop.
Thank God.
Yeah.
They kill them all.
Yeah. How goddamn many can there be? And but there's like the key kind of like characters that I really enjoy a lot watching. The little I've seen, I really enjoyed the Hound, but he's just so, like, I think in the 2, because I'm halfway through season 3 now, in about the season and a half I've watched, I think he's had a combined like 5 minutes screen time. But it's always cool when he pops up. I enjoy the Arya Stark stuff a lot, and was it Tyrion?
Mm-hmm.
Is probably the best. I think just the most overall best performance and most entertaining. Gets all the best lines. But it was fun. Like I said, I knew a lot of the spoilers going into it, but now being invested into the characters more, not necessarily knowing when those spoilers came about, it hasn't. Because that was, I think, another thing too. I wasn't upset that I knew a lot of the spoilers, because I worked in a comic shop for a while. You just hear it, and you'd be out and about on the internet and whatnot. If you're not trying to dodge that, it'll just pop up, and you're like, oh, who cares? So I think that was one thing too that kind of helped me back from wanting to restart it up, because I was like, well, if I know basically everything that happens, but that really hasn't dampened the experience. It's pretty cool, and like I said, I've been moving through it pretty fast, so it'd be nice to be caught up in time for. I mean, probably not next week's episode, but in another episode or 2, because I think they're all. Is it another 10 episode season, or is it 8?
It's 8, and then the last season, which is the next year, is 7.
Oh wow! So they're going. They're just okay. I knew next season was their last, but I didn't know it was going even less than that. But no, it's been fun. I mean, it's because I've been looking for a show to kind of like really get into, and I can't really think of the last show that I've really been binging. Like, I guess Veep. I got the new season of Veep too, which is a nice kind of like chaser to kind of the more intense Game of Thrones.
Have you been watching any Ballers now that you have HBO access?
I should. I thought about that because I meant to text you because I saw that they have like they got picked up for season 3. I was like, oh, I should jump back on Ballers, the most like perfect, optimistic, happy ending season 1 finale of all time. Because I remember
no stakes.
Yeah, everything just happened, and everything exactly the way it was supposed to.
Yeah. Which I think is the reason why I had no drive to watch season 2.
Yeah.
because there's
what
no
can go
like,
next?
Yeah,
they get even better.
There's no like, oh, how are they gonna get out of this one?
Yeah,
There's no like, oh, how are they gonna get out of this one?
yeah. Hey, remember that check for $2 million I promised? Yeah, it's for $4 million. Yo, bum bum bum. Ballers. Oh man, and that
Is that the song?
yeah, that is.
I haven't heard it in so long.
And that's the song. I mean that is the lead into that is Game of Thrones, right?
Yes.
So Ballers has a pretty good bump of people leaving their TVs.
that baller bump.
No, I have not watched the second season, but the first season I remember Sam and I watched it and it was fun. You know, like it's anything with The Rock, man. And
Yeah,
Rob
it was
Corddry.
fun. It just had no
no
stakes.
suspense. Yeah, exactly whatsoever. So, but yeah, no. So yeah, it's been fun, and it's funny because I like how texts on my friends, and it's like they're getting texts from 5 years ago. They're like, yeah.
You should text Carlos.
Oh,
He's
yeah, that's right.
really
Yeah.
into Game of Thrones.
I'll be like, yo, what's his face?
And Ballers.
And he really misses you.
I know. I need to hang out with Carlos, man. I haven't seen Carlos in so long.
Yeah, if you had been 15 minutes earlier
I
to the
know.
bar last night.
Damn it.
But also if he had waited 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
Because we told him. We were like,
Yeah.
he's going to be here at midnight.
Yeah. It's a give and take. It brings up the suspense more for when we finally do see each other after all these years.
Yeah, you're like the Frasier's little brother and
Niles?
Yeah, Niles and what's her name?
Daphne?
Yeah.
You're gonna wait 7 seasons?
Yeah.
Basically 8 seasons till we finally
Till you finally
go
kiss.
out. Yeah. So was that but yeah, so
Where are you at the golf course? Because I heard 4. 4!
I thought there was a CK somewhere in there.
Louis?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. God knows. Yeah, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Getting into the old...
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's like I'm finally fitting in with the world.
You can theorize with Zach and I the next time he's inevitably on the show.
Oh, I know how it ends.
Okay.
I already talked about this with one of my buddies at work. So spoilers if you guys don't want to know how Game of Thrones ends. You all think it's going to be because the 3 people that like are the obvious choice that everyone's talking about is Tyrion, Jon Snow, and the Mother of Dragons. So it's going to come down to them
Mama.
3. It's going to come down to them 3, right? And you're going to be like, all right, cool. And they're all going to cut each other down, and it's going to be Jon Snow because everyone thinks the obvious choice is not the obvious choice. Jon Snow is going to go to the fucking throne, right? But then you're going to realize the Mother of Dragons still has her 3 dragons, and the dragons are going to come and avenge the Mother of Dragons. And so the dragons are going to fly in, right? And Jon Snow's going to take down one of the dragons. Yeah! Head's gone, right? Second dragon
With that onomatopoeia.
the second dragon
in blood.
screeches in subtitles, "You killed my brother!" And it starts to go, and it starts to burn the fire, right? And then you see a fucking like axe, and it's Tyrion, right? And he's like, go Jon Snow, and like the head falls, right? And then the last dragon, like Jon Snow looks at Tyrion, and Tyrion looks at Jon Snow, and he's like, "Thank you, brother," because they're actually brothers. Like it's all fucked up. The whole family tree is fucked.
Yeah.
They're all brothers. Everyone's brothers on the show, and the dragon fucking
Even the women.
torches Tyrion, right? And then Jon Snow's like, "You killed my brother. I just found out about you, bastard." And then he goes to kill the dragon, right? He goes to kill the dragon, right? And then you hear this like clang, and you're like, "What the fuck?" And you turn around, and it's a sword that goes like right through the dragon, right? But it goes through the dragon, and it goes through Jon Snow. So Jon Snow's like half body's like, and like farts on the ground, just this dead body, and it's fucking Conan the Barbarian. And the whole series has been a prequel to Conan the Barbarian, and it ends with him sitting on the Iron Throne, and everyone else is dead, and it leads into a 10-season faithful adaptation of Conan the Barbarian. That's how Game of Thrones ends, with Conan the Barbarian. And I guess, he did, what's his face? Drago played Conan. I like this Conan a lot.
Yeah.
But it'd be a new person. That's how it ends. And then the credits are rolling. You're like, oh, it's over. But then He-Man shows up, and then it's a He-Man versus Conan. Collateral Damage. They're gonna go.
The
at
movie
it.
Collateral Damage.
Yeah, they're gonna go at it
With Arnold Schwarzenegger. So
yeah, I remember seeing that in theaters. Jesus, a man is choked to death by a snake. They just suffocate him with a snake down his mouth, and that's not a porno thing. It's like an actual snake down his mouth. But yeah, so that's how Game of Thrones ends. But like I said, I don't care about spoilers, so I'm waiting to get there. waiting to get there, see how Conan the Barbarian shows up. And the fact that, what's his face, George R. R. Martin said his favorite character is Tyrion Lannister. But he also said it's a bittersweet ending. That was his quote.
But is it also a bittersweet symphony?
Yes.
This life?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll get sued out of existence by the Rolling Stones as well.
Ooh, baby, baby. Ooh, baby, baby. I'm going to let that just sit there for a bit.
I'm going to let it marinate.
You getting anything new, Chris?
Not that I can think of. I guess I went to the zoo. We bought a zoo. No, I went to the DC Zoo with my friend Megan because she's visiting and she likes animals. And to the best of my knowledge, this was actually the first time I've ever been there. Mom says that I went there during the first year of my life, so what's the point? But yeah, it was fun. We walked around a lot. It's a big zoo. I didn't think it was as big as it actually is. Saw some sea lions. Saw some llamas. No pandas though. Pandas were not there. Yeah, fuckers. Saw some great apes.
Oh. Grape ape.
But I mean, it was just a whole lot of walking around. We checked out this donut place called Sugar Shack in Arlington. Was not too impressed.
I've seen the show. I don't live that far from the Sugar Shack.
Yeah.
Speaking of apes and not being that impressed, I don't think I ever talked about the fact that I saw War for the Planet of the Apes.
I saw it too.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not see it.
You know what really bummed me out, and this is just how I ruin movies for myself going into it. In the trailer, there's a moment where Caesar yells, "Apes together, strong!" And I was like waiting for that moment, like that big moment. And I kind of figured, I thought, or I knew it was going to come because like the movie is called War for the Planet of the Apes, but there's not a lot of war going on. It's kind of like in the very spoilers. Like there's kind of one in the end, spoilers, but it's like an avalanche basically.
Spoilers.
And I say it so fast that even if they want to turn it off, by the time they turn it off, they're going to hear the spoiler. So that's my bad. Spoiler on that. Spoiler. But there's like they're all captured, and I thought there was going to be like his rallying cry. It was like apes together strong, and he never says it in the movie. He says it very quietly in the beginning, just like apes together strong. But it was all right. I mean, this is a franchise that I never in a million years thought I would like this much, and those first two. I fucking love those. For Rise and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I love those two movies. Because I went into Rise of the Planet of the Apes thinking it was just going to be this goofy James Franco funny movie, and it was really kind of like great, touching story between these, ape and man, and just and the way that leads into and follows the thread of Caesar in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and Andy Serkis is fantastic in War for the Planet of the Apes. I mean, it's a much more dark, angry and violent performance. He's not as much of that kind of restrained leader because again it's all falling out of Dawn for the Planet of the Apes with was it Coba? Is that what it was?
Copacabana.
Coba, not ape. And he kind of haunts him throughout the whole movie. But it's like there's some like goofy shit in there like that doesn't fit, and then like I said it's kind of like I don't know, I was kind of bored by it. And I was really disappointed because I love those first two, and my expectations only got higher. And Dawn for the Planet of the Apes really succeeded in that expectation, but War for the Planet of the Apes kind of really just missed the mark for me. I was kind of bummed by it, But it clearly sets up,
Apes.
Clearly sets up, Dawn, where I guess just Planet of the Apes, if they're going to do another trilogy, because this trilogy's done. I mean, it's a very finished trilogy. But doesn't mean that they've I read that this franchise is far from over. I mean, they reference the ship in Rise for the Planet of the Apes. They get that gets lost in space and then comes back, centuries or whatever later. That ship is referenced in Rise for the Planet of the Apes. So like they already planted the seed for
the Icarus.
For the Icarus Dickarus duck.
For Charlton Heston coming back.
I hope it's played by Charlton Heston.
Yeah. Yeah, you damn dirty apes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
Anyone go see Dark Tower yet?
No,
No, man.
I'm not seeing that.
I still kind of.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for a rock. I'm not seeing it.
You know, I saw War for the Planet of the Apes, and for a movie, I think it starts out pretty good.
Yeah.
But for a movie called War for the Planet of the Apes, not a whole hell of a
No.
lot of war
No.
for that Planet of the Apes.
Just sit around for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, jailbreak of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tonight there's gonna be a jailbreak. That would if they would have thrown that in the end, I'd be like, that's fine.
Woody Harrelson.
He is. Okay, look. Look. I love Woody Harrelson, and I don't blame him for anything in this movie. But he sucks. Holy shit. And again, I don't blame him for it, because they have to get to that, like, how do we get to where humans don't speak, you know? And they have, like, the disease that reverts them to, like, ape it. And there's this one moment where, like, he has a disease, and he's like, and you're just like, fucking knock it off. At that point, I was just straight up annoyed by him, his character. I like Woody Harrelson a lot, but man, not good.
Hot take: I would buy Alien Covenant before I would buy War for the Planet of the Apes.
My initial reaction was ugh, but I haven't seen Alien Covenant, so I don't know. So I will rent it and watch it. And I'll let you. I will respond to that hot take in like a week or so.
Also, the superior ape film of 2017, Kong Skull Island.
My brain just froze because I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. I don't know. I mean, granted, no, I did not hate this movie like I hated Kong Skull Island. So I can't go with that one because that movie was a fucking nightmare. But
Saw Dunkirk.
yeah, that's right. You did, yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. It was, really good. I like the aerial stuff, and I love the way that movie starts too. And I was like, if this movie is this intense for the entire movie, hoo boy, not that intense for the rest of the movie.
See, that's where I differ with you on that a little bit. Because I think the thing, like, the aerial stuff is intense.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
And that's the best part of it.
That's probably why it's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite of the three.
Now,
segments.
granted, the beginning of that movie is very much like every war movie ever made. Guys getting, shot out of nowhere. And it is. It's intense. Also, the theater we were in was like the loudest theater. Like, that theater was so loud compared to when I saw it the first time. But for me, the intensity in Dunkirk, and I will say, and it's still my favorite movie of the year. I still really enjoy it. But seeing it a second time was not nearly as powerful and intense as the first time I saw it. As the first time I saw it. But no, for me, there's something intense about, like, drowning, or like being in a cockpit as the water's slowly rising, or being locked in and thinking you're safe. That moment, they're in the bottom, and like the torpedo hits and the water rises and the clock ticking, the clock tick tick tick, like, and also just sitting waiting on a beach and you're fish in a barrel. Like, the intensity for me, like you said, there's two different intensities. There's at the beginning, which is very like like a band of brothers saying Private Ryan, where just shots coming out of nowhere, getting hit left and right, immediacy of death. But then you get the intensity of Dunkirk, of you're sitting on a beach, twiddling your thumbs, and it's like either there's that shot of the guy going into the ocean, like, I'm just gonna kill myself. I'm just gonna let the water. I'd rather die. And then hearing the fucking dive bombers coming and waiting. It's not like you have a barricade you can go behind, or you see that Nazi with that rifle and you could fire back. I hope he misses. Yeah. And that intensity there. But again, it's more of that building intensity of it, and then it cuts to like Mark Rylance, who, again, I know I still really liked his performance of, like, he's just exactly perfectly normal British man, you know what I mean? And just like so reserved in his performance. I really like that. And again, there's no, and that's another thing I like too about this movie a lot, is there's no standout showy performances. Like, Brennan never goes for the, oh my God, it's the Nazis, and there's never, like, the one guy that goes, here they come again, sir, hold down the fucking launches. It's usually they're going, why are we talking? Get the fuck out of here, Yeah. But yeah, I just remember the second time seeing it, I still loved it. I still definitely without a doubt my favorite movie of the year so far. But it was just a little bit not as like emotional, like fist to the face kind of thing as the first time I saw it. And I still like there's a part of me that still wants to go the next day or so to try to do like the Air and Space Museum Super Dunkirk, as you call it, because I think that would be like primo. But yeah, so I agree, it's a good movie.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. I also saw Atomic Blonde.
Oh,
yeah, I saw it while I was in Seattle.
Did you agree with me?
Yeah, man. It's not a bad movie. It's just not a particularly good one either.
It's not a good movie. It's not a bad movie. It's just a movie.
Like I wouldn't buy Atomic Blonde.
It's the Roman Reigns of movies.
Yeah. Charlize Theron does a very good job.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big doozy of a Donnybrook about halfway, 2/3 of the way through the film, that's meant to look like a one-take brawl. It leaves the audience as winded as the characters.
I don't think I've heard the term Donnybrook.
Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I love the soundtrack. Starts with Blue Monday, the New Order version. But the lot of good 80s pop. But it just kind of tries a little too hard to be cool and a little too hard to be flashy.
Is all the best stuff in the trailer?
I mean, all the fight scenes are fine. All the fight scenes are
But I
good.
mean, are all the fight scenes like in the trailer? Because that's what my buddy said. He saw it and he was like, all the fight scenes. I mean, like, granted, not every single second, but all of those like bam, pow, piff, and everything else is just boring.
It starts out pretty good, but it gets convoluted for convolution's sake. And you're just like, well, it didn't need to be that. So
this isn't a franchise starter.
But hey, Sophia Boutella, if you dug her in The Mummy.
She's damn good in this.
Oh,
too.
she's in that?
Yeah.
She plays the girl you see for like 2 seconds in the trailer when they're like
with Charlize Theron.
they're making out at a bar.
Fair.
Sound. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. If I see it for like $8 on Vudu and HTX and like The Longest Day isn't for sale, then maybe.
The Longest Day, huh? I mean, if The Longest Day was for sale, I can't think of very many other movies where I'd be like, I'm buying this over The Longest Day.
I've bought movies over The Longest Day before on Vudu.
I have too. So what did I just fucking say? What am I talking about?
Fucking Smokey and the Bandit and Rio Bravo are both on sale, as are all the Alien movies, but I already have all the Alien movies. That
Smokey and the Bandit and Rio Bravo? Those are the beef jerky and filet mignon.
Those are the two movies.
Hey, you can either get beef jerky for 50 cents or you can get filet mignon for 50 cents.
Sometimes
I'll let you figure out which is which.
Smokey and the Bandit is second only to Star Wars as the highest grossing movie of 1977.
I mean, I don't have anything to respond to that. To be fair, I mean, I don't have a counterpoint. Fuck you. Yeah, well,
I mean, it's those are the only. I mean, there's a lot of good movies on sale this month, but those are the.
I haven't really looked
because that's what I do every Friday, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I've gotten through a week. I haven't killed anything that I'm aware of. I'm going to treat myself to a film on sale, and those.
Speaking of you killing something, I have a funny story. So I was taking a shower and I looked down and there was a spider that was like drowning, and I don't like spiders are a vindictive community of people. Of spider, you know what I mean? That's a Gilmore Girls quote. Spiders are vindictive, but like word will get around, and it's like I don't like as long as the spider stays away from me, we're cool. You know what I mean? But it was like drowning. It was like blah, 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 like moving. I was like, oh man, So I went down to with the edge of the shampoo thing to try to help it, and I just smashed it. I accidentally smashed it in a million pieces, and I was like, oh shit. And it was just this water funeral.
They call that spider Mr. Glass.
As South of Heaven was playing in the background. So,
Honestly, I just want spiders to know my legend. I might be afraid of spiders, but I want them to be afraid of me, too.
I have been bit by and
You're
run
the-
into so many spiders since working at Mount Vernon. Like, it is absurd. Like, at night, just walking through, the amount of spiders. I feel like that scene in Raiders where he's, like, running down the thing and he just goes to the big cobwebs. And, you know, that's what it's like working at Mount Vernon at night. Like, the amount of spiders. Like, I got bit on the hand after seeing Spider-Man 2017, even. So, yeah. You know.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that, Stallone?
He's writing Creed 2 right now.
Yeah. He's shooting you with the lawgiver right now.
Yeah.
He's going, I don't like you on your fucking face. I'll shoot you, the damn lawgiver.
Explode around.
Exploder. Supposedly they're working on a Ravagers movie.
Oh, that'd be cool. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Get that, build that shared universe.
The apparently the Dread TV series is back on production.
Well, they're looking at getting Carl
Yeah.
Urban. I remember I saw some article. The headline was like, "This is how you can connect the movie universe to the TV universe." I'm like, you just fucking do it.
Yeah.
It's not difficult. It's not like you have 3 seasons you have to wrap into it.
Yeah.
Just cast Carl Urban.
Yeah, and technically they could still wrap, Stallone's Judge Dredd into it because it's just like that's like a finale.
Mm-hmm.
All the Council of Dudes is dead.
Council of Dudes.
Yeah.
My dudes.
Council of. That's just me doing a bad impression of Ralph Garman's impression of Charlton Heston. Whenever somebody has him do a Charlton Heston impression, he always starts off with.
It's like how all my impressions were like oh.
You have to get ready.
Yeah, you gotta set the stage. What about you, Sam? Anything else other than those movies?
I mean, I went to Seattle for a wedding. That was cool. It's always fun going to Seattle. It's certainly the only time I've been to Seattle where it isn't like March or April.
Yeah, you brought the heat with you.
I did. It was like
Thank you.
in the 80s and 90s. It was smoke. Because
I
of
saw that.
the fires in the British Columbia. Yeah, I made the forecast smoke that day I landed. I was just like, fuck. Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, I always have a lot of fun in the Pacific Northwest. Might go again in October. Not to Seattle, but the Pacific Northwest.
You see any squatches?
No squatches. No squatches. I did go to Pike's Place Market. No squatches were there either, but I didn't actually buy anything at Pike's Place Market. I just went. Somebody gave me a free nectarine. It was delicious.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're always better when they're free.
Mm-hmm. Everything tastes better when it's free.
Mm.
Filet mignon, beef jerky. I hope there's something. If nothing better goes on sale on Friday, it's going to be Rio Bravo or Smokey and the Bandit. Just putting that out there. You'll find out in the future. Because I don't know yet. But the Wednesday of next week, Sam, will.
Sam listening back to this episode so he can write the copy will know.
Yeah, just, sitting there in the shadows of my office, just.
Like, Sam, turn on the goddamn lights. It's fucking afternoon. He's,
But yeah, well, thanks again to Kyle Starks for coming on the show. He's always a lot of fun. And again, Rock Candy Mountain, if you're looking for hobos, fights, trains.
The actual devil.
The actual devil.
And the hobo devil.
And the hobo devil. More fights and more hobos. And the hobo mafia. So much fucking, imagine the amount of research you have to do to write. Because he gets the lingo in that book down so hard.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's out in comic book stores everywhere on Wednesday, September 27th. Again, check out the reprint of Sexcastle if you missed it the first time around.
Yes.
The Eisner-nominated Sexcastle. That's a lot of fun. Dead of Winter, Rick and Morty, which, he's doing the Lord's work there, which is now back as a TV show, too. So, he's always a good time. But yeah, so thanks again to Kyle Starks for coming on. And, hey, this has been another installment.
That's my favorite thing you do, by the way, where, you snap yourself out of whatever you're doing, where you're like, You're just so in geek out mode. We're like blah 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 blah, and then you go, "Hey,
Yeah, we're still here.
Like you're like someone just said hey to you, and you're like, oh hey.
Yeah. And hey,
Hey, this has been another Catch. It's Wednesday, my dudes.
It's hey, thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
Monkey fuck.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.